Dear friends, in 1997, there was a beautiful article with the title, Changing the World, One Smile at a Time. Dr. Bill Meiji and his wife Kathy decided to do some volunteer work among the poor people in Philippines. The experience in Asia touched them very deeply. When they returned back to the States, they started a non-profit organization called Operation Smile. I like that title very much. It provides free corrective surgery for poor children, especially those having cleft palates or facial deformity. According to them and the survey, 1 in 500 children suffer from different kinds of facial deformities. Too often, the families of these children hide them or isolate them from the public notice. Kathy says that she and Bill were both raised in Catholic families who taught them and inspired them to render such outreach programs to the most needy people. They, of course, passed on this spirit of service to all their 5 children who always volunteered on their mission trips. The story of Dr. Bill and Kathy brings us to today's readings. Christian service is not the theme of the gospel, but service is a criterion by which all of us will be judged on the last day at the end of our lives here on earth. Jesus makes it very clear in Matthew chapter 25, whenever you refuse to help one of these least brothers of mine, you refuse to help me. Similarly, in the letter of St. James, we read the relationship between service or faith and action. He writes, "What good is it for one of you to say that you have faith if your actions do not prove it? Can faith save you?" Thus, for James, our service to the needy is a kind of CAT scan. Most of you are familiar with the CAT scan. It's a CAT scan of our faith to determine if it is still alive or dead. In this context, there is a very inspiring note from the research of Dr. Kubler-Ross at the University of Chicago, very close to our place. She studied and interviewed hundreds of patients in serious terminal illness or near-death situations, and she came to this remarkable conclusion. Dr. Kubler-Ross writes this: "When you come to this point in life, there are only 2 things that are relevant: the service you rendered to others and love." Now, one might ask, how does all this apply to our lives here? We may not have the talents or the resources to do something like what Dr. Bill and his family are doing. But the point is not that. The point is this: God has given each one of us some talents, some gifts and abilities to serve God's children. And so all of us, regardless of our situation, can find a way to serve the poor and needy in our society. The famous TV celebrity Art Linkletter, I'm sure many of you must have seen his shows. He has a very practical handy guide for anyone who might not know how to start or how to go about their service. He says, "Do a little more than you need to. Give a little more than you have to. Try a little harder you think or you want to. Aim a little higher than you think possible. Dear friends, today the gospel tells a story of an ambition, human ambition for higher power, honor, and prestige, even clothed in good intentions. A Jewish mother goes to Jesus and wants her sons in the best place to be successful, and they pick up that ambition from her. The other apostles see these brothers, James and John, as wanting to be in top positions with Jesus in his kingdom. To their surprise, Jesus accepts their request, but then let them know that to be close to him, they must be willing to suffer with him and to be a servant of all. That could be the path to greatness in God's kingdom, because the values of his kingdom are exactly opposite to our worldly ideas of power and honor. I like to conclude with a true story of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa started her congregation of missionaries of the charity with only $2 in her pocket. But she had a strong faith in the providence of God. And when she died, after many years of serving the poor and sick, she left a congregation of nearly 4,000 nuns with communities around the world. She even started a clinic for the AIDS patients in New York, the first one in our country. And then some of the media, and according to our worldly standards, she was considered to be very successful. But that idea did not excite her. Mother Teresa said, God does not call us to be successful, but he calls us to be faithful. Let me repeat that again. God does not call us to be successful in worldly terms, but he calls us to be faithful to his teachings.